Hello student of grade 11th. Today in this video we're going to discuss about the primary metabolites and the secondary metabolites. As I discussed in the previous class in the first video that the earth crust have some essential elements like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, right? And if you see the composition of the element that we found on the earth crust, it is similar as listed in your textbook, okay? And then even if you compare these two, the earth crust and the living system, both the compositions are almost same. We find the same elements, but there may be some variation in the amount, okay? So if you see primary metabolites in the biomolecules, in the living system, we found hydrogen in the around 0.5%, we find oxygen as 65, and then carbon as 18.5, and then nitrogen as 3.3, okay? So the percentage composition is very important, you must know it, okay? And then mostly the primary metabolites, this when we say the biomolecules, okay, we simply consider as we can categorize into two. Biomolecules can be categorized into two components, that is your primary metabolites and the secondary metabolites in a simple form, okay? So when we say primary metabolites, it is, you can see the elements, right? So these are usually required in the physiological processes, okay, for the living cells. Likewise, we have secondary metabolites. I've made a very important point here, 9.3, okay, in your textbook, table 9.3, you need to memorize, okay? And then these are nothing but, when I say pigments, okay, pigments like, you know, carotenoids, you can find carotenoids in plants, right? Example like carotenoids. You know, alkaloids, toxin in the form of like resin, okay? When you say drugs are very common, right? When you say alkaloid like morphine, okay? These are nothing but secondary metabolites, right? So these are very useful, right? For example, drugs. These are chemicals that are needed for some functions, okay? Maybe to treat the diseases, okay? So these are having some ecological importance, okay? These are beneficial for the human beings. So this will be considered as secondary metabolites. And as a science students, we must know that we are producing secondary metabolites for various treatment of the diseases, okay? So in biomolecules, always remember that there are two categories. We can simplify it, the biomolecules, into two categories, that is primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Now I would like to discuss that your proteins, especially your proteins, are made up of as I said in the previous class, that these are made up of amino acids, but proteins are of different types. We have primary protein, we have secondary protein, we have tertiary protein, and we have quaternary protein. So proteins are of three types. We call primary, secondary, or we call secondary structure, primary structure, secondary structure. We have tertiary structure. We have quaternary structure. Okay, so there are different kinds of proteins. The proteins structure is of different types. We have primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. Okay, the detailed explanation will be discussed in the next video. Okay, for example, when I say protein, I have already said that it is a polymers of amino acids. Okay, polymers of amino acids. Let's take an example of the collagen. Now this is a protein. This is most abundant protein. Okay, so very interesting. This year for biomolecules, most of the questions, 4 to 5 questions were asked in the your NEET examination, medical examination. Okay, so collagen is the most abundant protein. in animals. And we have another kind of protein called as rubisco. So this is the most abundant protein in all of the biosphere. Okay, if I say insulin, let's take an example. You know insulin, right? Insulin is a what? Hormone. It's a hormone. But remember that insulin is a protein. If I say trypsin, trypsin is it's an enzyme. But remember that even trypsin is a protein. If I say antibody, okay, for our immune system, antibodies are the one that protect our body from infectious agent, okay, that destroy the antigen. The foreign substance, when any foreign substance comes and attack in our body, enters in our body, in our system, then our body produced a specialized protein called antibody. Okay, as a defense mechanism. So this antibody itself is a protein. See? Protein is not an egg, okay? Don't say that when someone says what is protein, most of them will say egg. Egg can be the source of protein. When you eat fish, when you eat any kind of requirement, okay, that we feed up, or when we fill our stomach, then whatever the food that you fill up, it converts into a chemical soup. Okay, it converts into a chemical soup through some process, and then those chemicals, whatever that is in the food, okay, are absorbed by our cell. So it is a chemical soup. Okay, so having good food is essential. Okay, if you know how to balance our diet, if you keep on eating only meat, okay, it is not going to help you. If you keep on having only fish, right, you have to take various forms, in the form of fruits, vegetables, fats, oils, okay, carbohydrates, vitamins, okay, these are all required for our better immune system. Okay, so for the growth and development, all the sources are required, because these sources are going to provide, okay, essential elements that are required for our system. Okay, so rubisco is always, this is very important, very abundant protein that is in the whole of the biosphere. You will find rubisco as the most abundant protein. Collagen, already 2020 need already came, okay, the most abundant protein in the animals. Okay, so this is a little bit highlight, or little bit not a detailed explanation, but the information about the protein. Next we'll discuss about polysaccharides. There we'll discuss about the glucose. When we say polysaccharide, so these are biomolecules. When we say polysaccharide, these are biomolecules. Monosaccharide, just say monosaccharide. The name itself, it is saying mono. Mono means one. One saccharide means sugar. One sugar unit. So when we say sugar, then don't think that the sugar that we add in the tea. Okay. So this is for talking about the unit. Okay. That is glucose. It can be glucose. It can be fructose. Okay. So when I say polysaccharide, poly means many sugar unit. So if you have fructose, many times of fructose, just say many times of fructose, means polymers of fructose. One example, okay? So like inulin. So inulin is a polymer of fructose. Okay? This question was also asked in another form, okay? But inulin is the polysaccharide. It means that it is a polymer of fructose. Likewise, we have cellulose. We have starch. these are some of the examples of the polysaccharide. When we say polysaccharide, just say if I'm writing as one sugar, okay, and this sugar is of many types. So polymers of, for example, fructose, we can consider as inulin. Okay, so the proteins, whenever we say about the proteins or the polysaccharide, okay, these are very important biomolecules. Okay, if you eat, just say that today the source of your energy was carbohydrate. So when you have carbohydrate is what? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, right? So these are the important elements that are the components of the carbohydrate is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So if you look this, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen are what? Elements. Okay, so just say carbon, this is 12, 22, this is 12. So this will be converted to C6H12O6, glucose or fructose, right? Okay. So in the next class, we'll discuss about the enzymes and its factors and the different kinds of enzymes that are needed in our living systems, and they are also considered as the biomolecule. Thank you.